All right, welcome to 4.3. This is going to be graphing equations using the intercept. So right away you have a couple of vocabulary words, just things for you to know. It's called the x and the y intercept. And that is going to be where the graph hits the x axis and where it hits the y axis. So you can see in this graph right here, we've got this would be the y-intercept and this would be the x-intercept. In other words, though, it's when, I think I actually mixed those up. So in this one, it's where the y equals 0. You can see the 0 in that equation. What is the x value when the y equals 0? Or when the x equals 0, what's the y value when the x equals 0? So we're going to go ahead and put those in, we're going to be using those in our first example, and just double checking that I have these right. Okay, so the x-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. So the x-intercept would be right here, and it's the value of x when y is 0. And the y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. So this first question is, find the intercepts, the x and y intercepts of the graph 2x plus 7y equals 28. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and plug in 0 into both of them. So we're going to do that twice because the first time we're going to plug 0 in here. And if y is 0, well then it's 2x plus 0 equals 28. So 2x equals 28, x equals 14. Skipped a step there, but I think you guys can get that. So then the next one, so this is great for you to know. X equals 14, that is going to be my x-intercept because it's when y equals 0. Double check that I'm right on this. It's when y equals 0 and the x is 14. So it's 14 comma 0 is the point on the graph that I can see. But that is my x-intercept is when y is 0. So x-intercept is 14. Now when x is 0, we're going to move that over here. And that means 2 times 0 plus 7y equals 28. And 0 plus 7y equals 28. Divide 28 by 7, so y equals 4. And so in this case, it's going to be 0 comma 4 is the point on the graph. But my y-intercept is 4. X-intercept is 14. Y-intercept is 4. Okay, so the reason we use this is because once you have 2 points, you can draw a line. And you know that any 2 points can make a line. So with x and y intercepts, all of a sudden we have a line that we can graph. So let's use this equation right here. X plus 2y equals 4. If I'm going to plug in, first I'm going to find I want to graph that equation. So first I'm going to find my x and y intercepts. So I'm going to start by putting 0 in for y. If I put 0 in for y, x equals 4. That makes it easy. So 4 comma 0 is one of my points. And then the other one is if I put 0 in for x, y equals 2. So 0 comma 2. I didn't do all the work on that, but I think you can figure that out. Okay, so now I have 2 points. I can plot those 2 points. First one is 0, 2. So 0, 1, 2, right there. And the second one is 4, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. And then take your ruler, or whatever you have. I happen to have a sticky note at the moment, and I don't think I can do this while holding the phone. There we go. And then you draw that line, put a couple of arrows on it because it's going to keep going. Okay, so fairly easy. This next one, it's basically doing the same thing except opposite. In this case, they're telling you, here is a graph. Can you tell me the x and y intercepts of this graph? Well, you can kind of look at it and see, okay, the first point is where it crosses the x-axis. So the x-intercept is 0, 1 and 2, 0. 0, 1 is right there, and 2, 0 is right there. Here's a little side note for you. You ever noticed the origin point right there in the middle? Kind of looks like a bird. You got a beak, 2 eyes, maybe an owl, the face of an owl. Now you're going to not be able to see that every time. Wait, you're not going to not be able to see it every time. Just a little extra tidbit there for you. All right, now, in this one, we have an awards banquet for your school. And in this awards banquet, you need to rent tables that will seat 180 people. So we have 2 sizes of tables. We have small tables and we have large tables. The small tables seat 4 people, the large tables seat 6 people. What are the options for tables that we could do? So the first thing you're going to do is create an equation. And you can see I did that right here. 4x plus 6y equals 180, where y is your large tables, x is your small tables, and 180 is the number of people we are going to seat. So find the intercepts of the graph. And you can also think about, this is a very real world problem. So the intercepts basically are if we did all large or all small tables. So if we did all small tables, it would just be 180 divided by 4, which is 45 people. If we did all large tables, it would be 180 divided by 6, which is 30. So we know we can graph this. We know that my first thing right here is going to be, if I've got x and y, you should always label your graphs so that you see what you're working with. And if it's small tables, and I'm doing them by 5s just because I didn't want to have it go all the way out to 45 and have each of these be 1. So I did it by 5, 10, 15, 20. My first, if it's all small tables, so it's going to be 0 large tables and 45 small tables, and 0, or up here, I have 0, no, the opposite. I have 30 large tables and 0 small tables. So that's my 2 intercepts. Once I draw those 2 intercepts, I can draw a line between them. Now, does my line, you see that squiggly right there? It's because I'm so used to drawing the line beyond the line and doing an arrow. However, do I want to do that on this problem? The answer is no. That's why I crossed it out. So sorry for the mess. But I crossed it out because, why? Because I can't have negative tables. So I can't have negative small tables to have more large tables, or negative large tables to have more small tables. Doesn't work that way. So I'm going to have a dot here and a dot there. And then what other values could actually make sense on this? You can see it crosses right here and right there. I don't know if there's any other whole numbers that it might cross, because obviously each of these represent 5. So there might be some other ones, but as far as increments of 5, my 2 other ones that I know I could do are right here, which is 15, 20, 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, 20 right there. And then 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 5, 10. So 30, 10. So that would be two other options. If you're trying to figure out what options I could do here for my getting large and small tables, and I could do 30 small, 10 large, 15 small, 20 large, 30 large, no small, 45 small, no large. So those are my options. The last question, it says, oh, I thought it asked for the, I guess that's on the next one. Okay, so moving on. Sorry, turn the page. Now, I've got a submarine, or someone who's a submersible. So it's exploring the ocean floor, and it's at an elevation of negative 1,300. That means 1,300 below 13,000 feet below sea level. So negative 13,000. Sorry, can't read it right. And then it's going to come up to the surface at a rate of 650 feet per minute. So we can draw that equation, E equals 650 T minus 1,300. So if T being, if there's been no time at all, it's still at negative 13,000 feet, which is a pretty easy thing to think about. But every minute it goes, so after 1 minute, it's going to be 13,000 minus 650, and so on and so forth. So that's my equation. I've got it right here. E equals 650t minus 13,000. Apparently I'm having a problem with 13,000. The first question it asks is find the intercepts of the function and state what the intercepts represent. So I kind of already alluded to this, but if t is 0, then my first intercept, E equals negative 13,000. That's the intercept of, well, I'm going to say, I know it's E and T, but this is usually Y, X. That's just because functions are almost always written in this form with Y, X. And so my E intercept is going to be negative 13,000, which is super easy to figure out. But the other one is a little more difficult to figure out. So that's 0 equals 650t minus 1,300. So I'll add 1,300, 13,000. I'm so sorry for my, keep saying that. Okay, so 0 equals 650t minus 13,000, add 13,000 to both sides. So 13,000 equals 650. 13,000 divided by 650 is 20. T equals 20. So what that represents, if you remember, E is the elevation. It's how far below the surface it is. So when it's at 0, T is 20. So it means it's going to take 20 minutes for this little machine to get up to the surface. So now knowing that, I'm going to graph my two options. So the first one is, let's see, 0, comma, negative 13,000 and 20, comma, 0. So those are my two intercepts, and to graph those two things, obviously I can't do a graph with each square representing 1. So I'm going to do a graph where each square going on the y-axis, or my e-axis, is going to be negative 2,000. And I'm going to do up here where each one is 2. So I chose that. You could do different things. You could do 1,000 and you go down 13 squares, or you could do, that would be a much bigger graph than what I did. You could do where each one is 4,000 and 4. You can do however you want. But I chose 2 and 2,000 mostly because that's what the book chose. And you can see here's 0, 0. That means 0 time and you're at the surface. But he was not at the surface at 0 time. At 0 time, he was negative 13. I actually obviously misdid it. I did negative 12,000 and I'm missing zeros. I guess just right there. I did negative 12,000. It was supposed to be negative 13,000. So my graph should have been from this dot to that dot. So forgive my line. This is another one where, again, I'm not going to extend out because you can't, in this kind of equation, we're not going to go with 0 time or negative time. I'm sorry, you are 0 time, but you can't do negative time, and we're not going to do above the surface because he's not going to fly up in the sky. So we are just going to have dots going from there to there. And then this one asks, what is the domain and range? Well, that's what we did in the last chapter. So the domain of E, we'll start there, and it is negative 13,000 is less than or equal to E, which is less than or equal to 0. And then 0 is less than or equal to T, which is less than or equal to 20. So you can see there's my domain and range right there. That is all the problems for this chapter. Hopefully you'll be able to understand the rest of this. Good luck.